We live in a sea of energy. We live in a energetic field. We live in the earth and not on the earth. We actually are inside of these energy fields. And these energy fields can be seen like a grid or a webbing or a net. The net is, we are able to navigate through this brain. The brain is actually a transmitter. It can pull in information from the ether. So we have the 5 elements: earth, air, water, fire. The elements are really important to build a relationship with. They attribute it to certain cultures, but in every culture there existed these elements, and the importance of having a relationship to the elements. So there's sort of like a way in this realm. We have not been given the full picture of what history is, and we have been, words have been kind of used against us in a lot of ways. So we have to recognize the way language is being used and the way history is being used to kind of shape a narrative. For example, you can look to old maps. Old maps actually show energetic lines on there. They show the ley lines of the earth and the intersections. And what's interesting is there's people that are really deep diving into old maps or deep diving into old architecture and like really exploring these possibilities, going into archives of old newspaper articles from the 1800s. There's a lot of information there because people were discovering, whoa, there's actually, you know, this history of like giant trees, and there's a history of giants, and there's a history of cataclysm and in our historical narrative. And what's interesting about the energy lines is that the prime meridian was actually right, going right through the Great Pyramid. And now the prime meridian, there was a whole like convention about changing it, and they changed it. So there's this, and then energy lines, ley lines slowly got erased from the map, and continents get moved. And so you really have to understand how things are being shaped so that we will kind of believe in these false systems, these systems that really don't want to empower us. So when I think about the energy field, I think about spiritual hygiene, that I need to keep my energetic field clear and I need to keep my vibration high. Well, I'm also noticing that there's, that the controllers, whoever they may be, these old family lines, these old bloodlines that want to control this realm, doesn't mean they actually do, but how they really try to shape our understanding of this realm and how they use astrology. So we really have to pay attention to how astrology can be used against us, these tools that actually help us and are meant to help us and guide us in this realm. Actually, they use these timings, the extreme degrees, like we just went through the extreme degrees of Cancer, which means the last degrees of Cancer season. 30 degrees, which we just had this full moon, was opposite the last degrees of Cancer season. And what do? A big political move. Now, the timing is intentional. So there's also something that really needs to be understood is that history is cyclical, and that actually you can look to history and find patterns, and it creates these timelines that are actually, it's like a line of events, but you can draw circles around a particular event, and the 20 years before and 20 years after, there's a similar energy happening. So it's gets challenging because we only live a certain amount of time, so we can actually forget that we have these timelines that are so important to understand. And there's actually people who've done all these chronological timelines through reading ancient books. And the ancient books, not even that old, but from the pre-1900s up back to 5,000 years BC.